The Catherine Imperial Station floated in the darkness of space like a crown made of silver and light. It was the largest structure Captain Kangtae had ever seen. The station stretched for miles in every direction, with tall towers and glowing bridges connecting hundreds of sections. Ships from dozens of alien species docked at its ports. Flags of different empires hung from the walls. Kangtae stood at the window of his small starship, the horizon, and watched the station grow larger as they approached. He was 34 years old, with tired eyes and a calm face that rarely showed emotion. He had fought in the colony wars 10 years ago. He had watched friends die. He had learned that anger was useless and patience was power. "Captain, we are cleared for docking," said Shinari from her station. She was the youngest member of his crew, only 26, with a gentle voice and kind eyes. She spoke 14 alien languages and understood even more. Her job was to translate and communicate, but Kangtae knew she did much more than that. She watched. She listened. She understood things that others missed. "Take us in," Kangtae said. The horizon was not an impressive ship. It was small and old, built for exploration rather than war. The Catherine vessels around them were 10 times larger, covered in weapons and golden decorations. Kangtae did not care. He was not here to impress anyone. He was here to talk. Humanity had joined the Galactic Assembly only 5 years ago. In the eyes of most alien species, humans were newcomers. Children. Insects crawling out of their tiny planet for the first time. The Catherine Empire was over 50,000 years old. Humans had only discovered fire a few 100,000 years ago. To the Catherines, humanity was barely worth noticing, but the Assembly had rules. Every member species had a voice. Every member species deserved respect. At least, that was what the rules said. Kangtae gathered his crew before they left the ship. There were only 4 of them for this mission. Himself, Shinari, Chief Engineer Yoonhana, and Senior Combat Specialist Park Dae. Yoonhana was 29, small but fierce. She had short black hair and oil stains on her fingers that never seemed to wash away. She could fix anything. She could build anything. She had once repaired a broken engine using nothing but spare parts and determination. Kangtae trusted her completely. Park Dae was the oldest at 41. He was tall and quiet, with scars on his arms and a face that showed nothing. He had been a soldier before he joined the Horizon. He did not talk about those days. He did not need to. Everyone who looked at him understood that he had seen things most people could not imagine. "Remember," Kangtae told them, "we are here to represent Earth. We are here to show them who we are. Stay calm. Stay polite. Do not let them make you angry. And if they insult us?" Yoonhana asked. Her eyes were already hard. "They will insult us," Kangtae said simply. "Let them. Words cannot hurt us unless we allow them to." They walked through the docking tunnel and entered the station. Catherine guards stood on both sides, watching them with cold purple eyes. The Catherines were tall and beautiful, with silver skin and long limbs. They moved like dancers. They looked at the humans the way a person might look at ants. A Catherine official guided them through the station to the great hall where the summit would be held. The hall was enormous, with ceilings so high that clouds seemed to float beneath them. Hundreds of delegates from different species filled the room. Some had scales. Some had wings. Some had no solid form at all. The galaxy was vast and strange, and humanity was just one small part of it. At the far end of the hall, on a raised platform, sat the Catherine royal family. Emperor Torath was ancient and wise, with silver robes and a crown of floating light. Beside him stood his daughter, Princess Viola. Viola was young by Catherine standards, only 300 years old. She had her father's silver skin, but none of his patience. Her eyes were sharp and proud. She wore armor made of crystal that caught the light and threw it back like fire. She was beautiful and terrible, and she knew it. When the human delegation approached the platform, Vela stepped forward. She did not wait for her father to speak. She looked down at Kang Tae and his crew with open disgust. "So these are the humans," she said. Her voice was clear and cold. The insects who crawled out of their mud and demanded a place among the stars. Shin-Nari translated softly, though Kang Tae already understood. He had learned some Kethran during the journey. He kept his face calm. "Your Highness," he said, bowing his head slightly. "Thank you for receiving us." Vela laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Receiving you? I did not invite you. The assembly forced us to tolerate your presence. Do not mistake tolerance for welcome." She walked around them slowly, studying them like animals in a cage. "Look at you. So small, so fragile. Your bones break so easily. Your skin tears like paper. And your lives?" She shook her head. "How long do humans live? 80 years? 100 if you are lucky. Some of us live longer now," Shin-Nari said quietly. "Medicine has improved." 120 years then, Vela said. "I have clothes older than that. I have memories older than your entire civilization." She stopped in front of Kang Tae and stared into his eyes. "You are nothing. Your species will rise and fall in the blink of an eye. 1,000 years from now, no one will remember you existed." The hall was silent. Other delegates watched with interest, waiting to see how the humans would react. Some seemed amused. Others looked uncomfortable. A few, very few, looked angry on humanity's behalf. Kang Tae did not look away from Vela's eyes. He did not raise his voice. He simply said, "Perhaps. But we are here now. And while we are here, we will do what we can." Vela frowned. She had expected anger. She had expected fear. This calm acceptance confused her. She did not like being confused. "You do not defend yourself?" she demanded. "You do not argue? You simply accept that you are inferior?" "I accept that we are young," Kang Tae said. "I accept that we have much to learn." "But inferior?" He smiled slightly. It was a sad smile, full of knowledge she could not understand. That word means different things to different people. Vala's eyes narrowed. "It means weak. It means unimportant. It means you do not matter." "Then no," Kang Tae said. "I do not accept that." For a moment, something flickered in Vala's expression. Surprise, maybe. Or curiosity. Then it was gone, replaced by cold pride. "We shall see," she said. "We shall see what humans are truly made of." She turned and walked back to her father's side. Over her shoulder, she added, "I suspect we will all be disappointed." Kang Tae watched her go. Beside him, Yoon-hana was trembling with quiet anger. Park Dae's face was stone. Only Shin-Nari seemed calm, though her hands were clasped tightly together. "Captain," Yoon-hana whispered, "how can you let her say those things?" Kang Tae looked at the stars visible through the great windows of the hall. Billions of lights, billions of possibilities, stretching out forever. "Because words are just words," he said softly. "When the time comes, our actions will speak for us." He did not know how soon that time would come. The next morning, a Kethran messenger came to the human quarters. He stood stiffly at the door, barely looking at them, and delivered his message in a flat voice. "Princess Vela invites the human delegation to observe a demonstration of Kethran military excellence. Your attendance is expected in 1 hour." Before anyone could respond, he turned and walked away. Yoon-hana crossed her arms. "Expected. Not requested. Expected." "It is a trap," Park Dae said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken since they arrived on the station. His voice was deep and rough like gravel. "Not a trap," Shinari said thoughtfully. "A show. She wants to scare us. She wants to remind us how weak we are compared to them." Kang Tae nodded. "Then we will watch her show. We will be polite. We will be impressed." He looked at his crew with steady eyes. "And we will learn." The training arena was located in the military section of the station. It was a massive circular room with high walls and a sand-covered floor. Seats rose around the edges, like a stadium. When the humans arrived, they found the seats already filled with Kethran officers and nobles. Princess Vela sat in a special box above the arena, surrounded by guards and servants. She smiled when she saw them. It was not a friendly smile. "Humans," she called out, her voice carrying across the arena. "Welcome. Please, sit, watch, learn what true warriors look like." They were given seats at the front, close to the arena floor. Kang Tae noticed that several other alien species were also watching. Some looked curious. Others looked bored. A few seemed uncomfortable, as if they knew something bad was about to happen. The demonstration began. Kethran warriors marched into the arena in perfect lines. They wore silver armor that covered them from head to toe. They carried weapons that glowed with blue energy. They moved together like one creature with many bodies, every step exactly the same. A commander shouted orders, and the warriors began the fight. They faced training drones that flew through the air and attacked from all directions. The Kethrans destroyed them with terrifying speed. Their weapons cut through metal like water. Their movements were beautiful and deadly. Not a single warrior was touched. More drones came. Bigger ones. Faster ones. The Kethrans adapted instantly. They formed new patterns, new strategies. They worked together without speaking, as if they could read each other's thoughts. Within minutes, every drone was destroyed. The crowd cheered. Vela looked down at the humans with triumph in her eyes. "You see?" she said. "This is the power of the Kethran Empire. We have trained for 50,000 years. Our warriors are perfect, unbeatable." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Would any human like to try?" The arena went quiet. Everyone turned to look at the small group of humans sitting in the front row. Yoon, Hana's hands curled into fists. Shinari kept her face calm, but her eyes were worried. Kang Tae felt the weight of hundreds of stares pressing down on him. This was the real trap. If they refused, they would look like cowards. If they accepted, they would be humiliated. There was no good choice. Then Park Dae stood up. "I will try," he said. The arena exploded with laughter. Kethrans pointed at him and whispered to each other. Even Vela seemed surprised. She had expected fear, not acceptance. "You?" she said. "You wish to fight our warriors?" Park Dae did not answer. He simply walked toward the arena floor. Kang Tae grabbed his arm. "Dae, you do not have to do this." Park Dae looked at him. For a moment, something human passed through his eyes. Something old and tired and determined. "Yes, Captain. I do." He walked into the arena. The laughter slowly died as people realized he was serious. A Kethran warrior stepped forward to face him. The warrior was tall and strong, covered in silver armor, carrying an energy staff that crackled with power. Park Dae wore no armor. He carried no energy weapon. He reached down to his belt and pulled out a simple knife. The blade was 8 inches long, made of plain steel. It looked like a toy compared to the Kethran's weapon. The laughter returned, louder than before. "He brings a knife," someone shouted. "A knife against a Kethran warrior." Vela leaned forward in her seat. "This will be quick," she murmured. The signal was given. The fight began. The Kethran warrior attacked first. He was fast, incredibly fast. His staff swept toward Park Dae's head with enough force to crush bone. Park Dae was not there. He had moved. Not away from the attack, but toward it. He stepped inside the warrior's reach, too close for the staff to hit him properly. His knife flashed once, twice. The warrior stumbled back, confused. 2 straps on his armor had been cut. A piece of metal fell to the sand. The crowd went silent. The warrior attacked again, faster this time, angrier. Park Day dodged, rolled, moved in ways that seemed impossible for his age. He did not try to block the energy staff. He did not need to. He was never where the staff was swinging. Minutes passed. The warrior grew tired. His attacks became sloppy. Park Day's knife found more gaps in the armor. A cut here. A slice there. Nothing deadly, but painful. Humiliating. Finally, Park Day swept the warrior's legs out from under him. The Kethrin fell hard on his back. Before he could rise, the knife was at his throat. The arena was completely silent. Park Day stepped back and let the warrior stand. He did not celebrate. He did not smile. He simply waited. Vila's face had gone pale. "Another," she commanded. "Send another." A second warrior entered the arena. This one was bigger, more experienced. He studied Park Day carefully before attacking. The result was the same. Park Day took hits this time. A glancing blow to his shoulder. A strike to his ribs that made him grunt in pain. But he did not fall. He did not stop. Every time he was knocked down, he got back up. Every time he was hurt, he kept fighting. The second warrior fell. "Another," Vila said. Her voice was shaking now. The third warrior was the best of them. He fought with skill and patience, waiting for Park Day to make a mistake. But Park Day did not make mistakes. He adapted. He learned. He watched how the warrior moved and found the patterns. He found the weaknesses. The third warrior fell. Park Day stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. His left arm hung at a strange angle. But he was still standing. He looked up at Princess Vila. His eyes were calm. "Enough," he said. "I yield." Then he turned and walked back to his crew. The arena remained silent. No one knew what to say. They had just watched a single human with nothing but a knife defeat 3 of their best warriors. Vala stared at the arena floor where her warriors lay groaning. Her hands gripped the arms of her chair so tightly that her silver skin turned white. Commander Rin, who had been standing behind her, leaned forward. "Interesting," he said quietly. "Very interesting." "It was luck," Vala snapped. Nothing more. But her voice lacked conviction. And when she looked at the humans again, there was something new in her eyes. Not respect. Not yet. But the beginning of doubt. Kangtae helped Park Day sit down. "That was foolish," he said softly. "Yes," Park Day agreed. A small smile crossed his scarred face. But it felt good. Shinari was already treating his wounds with a small medical kit. "You are insane," she told him. "Completely insane." "Probably," Park Day said. He looked across the arena at the fallen Kethrin warriors. "But now they know. Now they all know." "Now what?" Yoon Hana asked. Park Day closed his eyes. "That humans do not give up, no matter what." Above them, Princess Viola watched the humans help their wounded friend. She had called them weak. She had called them inferior. She had expected them to cower and beg. She had been wrong, and that scared her more than anything. The explosion came in the middle of the night. Kang Tae was asleep when the station shook like a dying animal. He was thrown from his bed onto the cold metal floor. Alarms screamed through the walls. Red emergency lights flashed on and off, painting everything in blood-colored shadows. He was on his feet in seconds. Training took over. Fear came later. "Report." He shouted. Yunhana was already at the small computer terminal in their quarters. Her fingers flew across the screen. Reactor breach in Section 7. Primary power failing. The blast took out 3 decks. Another explosion rocked the station. The floor tilted. Somewhere far away, people were screaming. How bad? Kang Tae demanded. Yunhana's face was pale in the red light. Bad. Very bad. The reactor core is melting down. Radiation is spreading through the lower levels. Emergency systems are failing one by one. She looked up at him. Captain, this station is dying. Park Dae appeared from his room, already dressed, his knife at his belt. His injured arm was wrapped in bandages, but he moved like the pain did not exist. Shin Nari came next, her face frightened but determined. What do we do? She asked. Kang Tae thought fast. The horizon was still docked at the port. They could reach it in 10 minutes if they moved quickly. They could leave. They could escape. They could survive, but there were thousands of people on this station. Catherines, other aliens, civilians who had nothing to do with politics or pride. Children, we help, Kang Tae said. We help everyone we can. No one argued. No one suggested running. They simply nodded and followed him out the door. The corridors were chaos. People ran in every direction, pushing and shoving, crying and screaming. Smoke filled the air. Sparks fell from broken wires. The station groaned and twisted as its structure began to fail. Kang Tae grabbed a Catherine official who was running past. Where's the damage worst? He shouted. The official stared at him with wild eyes. Section 7. Section 8. The whole lower deck is on fire. People are trapped. He pulled away and kept running. Hannah, Kang Tae said, can you do anything about the power? Hannah was already thinking. Maybe. If I can get to the secondary reactor, I might be able to stabilize the systems. Buy some time. Do it. Nari, go with her. Find survivors. Guide them to the escape pods. The 2 women nodded and disappeared into the smoke. Dae, with me. We are going to Section 7. Park Dae did not hesitate. Together, they ran toward the fire. The lower decks were hell. Flames climbed the walls. Metal melted and dripped from the ceiling. The heat was so intense that Kang Tae could feel his skin beginning to burn. Radiation warnings flashed everywhere. They ignored them. They found their first survivors in a collapsed corridor. A Catherine family trapped under fallen beams. A mother holding 2 children, her leg crushed by debris. Help us, she begged. Her purple eyes were full of tears. Please, help us. Kang Tae did not waste time with words. He grabbed one end of the beam. Park Dae grabbed the other. Together, they lifted. The beam was heavy. Too heavy. Kang Tae felt his muscles screaming. He felt something in his back tier. He did not stop. He could not stop now. He shouted, "Move now." The mother dragged herself and her children free. The beam crashed back down, barely missing Kang Tae's foot. "Go," he told the family. "Follow the emergency lights. Find an escape pod." They kept moving. More survivors. More rescues. A group of alien scientists trapped in a burning laboratory. An elderly Catherine man who could not walk. A child, alone and crying, separated from her parents. Kang Tae carried the child on his back. Park Dae supported the old man. They moved through fire and smoke and death, and they did not stop. On the other side of the station, Hana reached the secondary reactor. The room was filled with smoke and the smell of burning electronics. Warning signs covered every surface. Radiation levels were dangerous. Deadly, probably. She went in anyway. Shin Nari stayed at the door, directing survivors toward safety. Her voice was calm and clear. cutting through the panic. "This way. Follow me. Stay together. You are going to be fine." She did not know if they would be fine. She said it anyway. Sometimes hope was more important than truth. Inside the reactor room, Yoon-hana worked faster than she had ever worked in her life. Her hands moved across controls, rerouting power, closing damaged circuits, trying to hold the station together with nothing but skill and willpower. The radiation burned her skin. She could feel it in her bones, a deep sick heat that would not go away. She knew what it meant. She knew the cost. She kept working. Meanwhile, Princess Vela was trapped. The explosion had caught her in the royal quarters. Her guards were dead, killed by falling debris. Her communication device was destroyed. She was alone in a collapsing room, surrounded by fire and smoke. For the first time in 300 years, she was afraid that she had always had servants to protect her, soldiers to fight for her, walls and weapons and power to keep her safe. Now she had nothing. She was just a person, trapped and dying, like anyone else. She tried to move a fallen beam blocking the door. She was not strong enough. She tried to find another way out. There was none. The walls were closing in. The air was getting harder to breathe. "This is how I die," she thought. Alone and helpless. Like the insects I laughed at. The irony was not lost on her. Then she heard something. Voices. Human voices. "Someone is in there. The door is blocked. We need to break through. Together." On three, a massive crash shook the room. Then another. Then another. The door burst open. Through the smoke, Vela saw them. The human captain and his scarred companion. Their faces were burned. Their clothes were torn. They looked like they had walked through hell itself. They had. "Your Highness," Kang Tae said. His voice was rough from smoke. "Can you move?" Vela stared at him. "You came for me? After everything I said?" "We came for everyone," Kang Tae replied simply. "You are part of everyone." He held out his hand. She took it. They moved through the burning station together. More walls collapsed. More explosions shook the floor. Park Dae cleared the path ahead, moving debris, fighting through fire, ignoring wounds that would have stopped most people dead at one point. A ceiling beam began to fall directly above Vela. Park Dae caught it with his bare hands. The weight drove him to his knees. His bones cracked. His muscles tore. He screamed through clenched teeth, but he held it long enough for the others to pass. "Leave me," he growled. "Get her out." "No one gets left behind," Kang Tae said. He grabbed Park Dae and pulled him forward just as the beam crashed down. They found Yoon-hana at the secondary reactor. She was unconscious, collapsed over the control panel. The power systems were stable. She had done it. She had saved thousands of lives, but her skin was gray. Her breathing was weak. The radiation had done its work. Shinari was there, crying, trying to wake her up. She would not stop, Shinari said. I told her to leave. She would not stop. Kang Tae lifted Yoon-hana in his arms. She never does. Let us get out of here. They made it to the escape pods. They made it off the station. Behind them, the Kethran Imperial station burned against the stars. Viola looked back at it through the pod window. Her home, her pride, her empire's greatest achievement gone. She looked at the humans around her. The captain holding his unconscious engineer. The soldier with broken bones. The translator with tears on her face. They had lost nothing by saving her. They had gained nothing by risking their lives. They had simply seen people in danger and acted. She did not understand. She could not understand, but she was beginning to. The rescue ships came 3 hours after the explosion. By then, over 2,000 people were dead. Another 5,000 were injured. The station was a broken skeleton, still burning in the cold darkness of space. Princess Vela stood in the medical bay of a Kethran military vessel, watching through a window as doctors worked on the human crew. Captain Kante sat on a bed, getting burns treated on his arms and face. He had refused painkillers. He said others needed them more. Park Day was in surgery. His left arm was shattered. 3 ribs were broken. Internal bleeding had nearly killed him twice. The doctor said he should not have been able to walk, let alone carry people through fire. They did not understand how he had done it. Yunhana was in critical condition. Radiation poisoning had damaged her organs. Her bones were weakened. Her immune system was failing. The doctors were doing everything they could, but they were not hopeful. Kethran medicine was advanced, but some things could not be fixed. Shinari sat beside her friend's bed, holding her hand, talking softly. She had not slept. She had not eaten. She refused to leave. Commander Rin appeared beside Vila. He was a tall Kethran with silver hair and old eyes that had seen many battles. Unlike most of his people, he did not look at humans with disgust. He looked at them with something closer to curiosity, maybe even respect. "Remarkable," he said quietly. Vila turned to him. "What? The humans?" Rin nodded toward the medical bay. "During the disaster, our own people panicked. Officers abandoned their posts. Soldiers ran for escape pods. The chain of command collapsed within minutes." He paused. But the humans never hesitated. 4 people. 4 small, weak, short-lived people. And they saved more lives than our entire military division. Vila did not respond. She had been thinking the same thing. "I have studied many species in my career," Rin continued. "I have never seen anything like humans. They are physically inferior to almost every other race in the galaxy. Their technology is primitive. Their lifespans are laughably short. And yet what?" Vala asked. Rin smiled slightly. "And yet they act as if none of that matters. They fight as if they cannot lose. They sacrifice themselves for strangers. They burn so brightly, as if they know their flame will not last long." He shook his head. "I do not understand them, but I am beginning to think that understanding is not the point." Vila watched Kang Tae through the window. A nurse was trying to make him lie down and rest. He was refusing. He wanted to check on his crew first. Always his crew first. Never himself. "He saved my life," she said quietly. "They all did. After I called them insects. After I said they were inferior. They still came for me." "Yes," Rin agreed. "They did. Why?" Vila demanded. The question had been burning in her mind since the escape pod. Why would they do that? Rin was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Perhaps you should ask them." Vila found Kante an hour later. He was sitting alone in a small observation room, looking out at the stars. His burns had been treated, but his face was still red and raw. He looked exhausted. He looked old. But when he heard her enter, he stood up and gave a small bow. "Your Highness." "Stop," Vila said sharply. "Do not bow to me. Not after what you did." Kang Tae straightened. He did not look surprised. He did not look angry. He just waited, calm as always. Vila took a deep breath. She had never apologized to anyone in her life. She had never needed to. She was a princess. Princesses did not make mistakes. Princesses did not show weakness, but she had been wrong, and she knew it. "I owe you an apology," she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. "I called your people inferior. I mocked you. I treated you like animals. And when I was trapped and dying, you came for me anyway." She met his eyes. "Why?" Kang Tae was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "When I was young, I fought in a war. I saw friends die. I saw enemies die. I saw children die, caught between armies that did not care about them. His voice was soft, but there was weight behind every word. After the war ended, I made a promise to myself. I promised that I would never walk past someone who needed help. Not if I could do something, even if they hated you? Vila asked. Even if they wanted you dead? Even then, Kangtae said. Especially then. Vela shook her head. That makes no sense. You could have died. Your people could have died. For what? For enemies who mocked you. For people, Kangtae corrected gently. Not enemies. Not friends. Just people. People who were scared and hurt and needed help. He looked out at the stars. Maybe that is the difference between us. You see species. You see rank. You see worth measured in years and power. We see people. Just people. And people are worth saving. Vila felt something crack inside her chest. It was a strange feeling. Painful, but also clean. Like a wound being opened so it could heal properly. The woman, she said. The engineer. Yoon Hannah. She stayed in the reactor room. She poisoned herself with radiation to stabilize the power. Yes, for us. For Catherine's. For people who called her inferior. Yes, will she live? Kangtae's face did not change, but something in his eyes grew darker. We do not know. The doctors are trying. Vila felt tears forming. She had not cried in over a century. She had thought she had forgotten how. She did that for us. She might die for us. And you do not even hate us for it? Kangtae finally smiled. It was a small smile, tired and sad, but real. Hannah would not want us to hate you. She would want us to do better. To be better. She believes that people can change. He looked at Vila. All people. Vila remembered the words she had spoken at the summit. Humans will fade from the galaxy's memory within a millennia. They are beneath our notice. She had been so certain. So proud. So blind. I was wrong, she said. About everything. Maybe, Kangtae agreed. But being wrong is not a sin. Staying wrong is. They stood together in silence, watching the stars burn in the darkness. Somewhere behind them, doctors fought to save lives. Somewhere behind them, Park Dae slept through his pain. Somewhere behind them, Shin-Nare whispered prayers in a language Vela did not understand. What is it like? Vela asked suddenly. Knowing you will die so soon? Knowing your life is so short? Kangtae thought about the question. It is like knowing the sun will set, he said finally. You cannot stop it. You cannot change it. So you learn to appreciate the light while it lasts. He turned to face her. We do not live long, Your Highness. But we try to live fully. We try to leave something behind. Something good. Something that matters. Is that why you save strangers? Because you want to be remembered? No. Kangtae shook his head. We save strangers because it is the right thing to do. Whether anyone remembers or not. He paused. Memory fades. Legacies crumble. But kindness echoes. It changes people. It changes worlds. Long after we are gone, the kindness we showed will still be rippling outward through the universe. Vila stood very still. She felt like she was seeing the universe for the first time. All her life, she had measured value in power and longevity. She had looked down on species that died young, thinking them worthless. But these humans, these fragile, short-lived creatures, had shown her something she had never understood. True power was not about living forever. It was not about conquering enemies or building empires. True power was choosing the help when you could have walked away. True power was sacrificing yourself for people who hated you. True power was burning so brightly that your light touched others, even after you were gone. I think, Vela said slowly, "that my people have much to learn from yours." Kang Tae smiled again. "And we have much to learn from you. That is what allies do. They teach each other. They make each other stronger." Vela nodded. For the first time in her life, she did not feel superior. She felt humbled. And strangely, that feeling was not unpleasant. Behind them, a door opened. Shin-Nari stood there, tears streaming down her face. "Captain," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Hannah is awake. She is asking for you." Kang Tae moved immediately, followed by Vela. They walked together toward the medical bay, toward the woman who had given everything for strangers, toward a future that neither of them could have imagined. And for the first time, Vela walked beside a human as an equal. 1 month later, the Kethran homeworld shone like a jewel in the darkness of space. Kang Tae had never seen anything so beautiful. The planet was covered in silver forests and crystal oceans. Cities rose from the ground like sculptures made of light. Ships flew through the sky in perfect patterns, like flocks of metal birds. The horizon landed in the capital city, in a square that had been cleared for the ceremony. Thousands of Kethrans lined the streets, watching silently as the small human ship touched down. Their faces showed no emotion. Kethrans were taught from birth to hide their feelings. But Kang Tae noticed something different in their eyes. Something that had not been there before. Respect. The human crew walked down the ramp together. Kang Tae led the way, dressed in a simple black uniform. Behind him came Park Dae, his arms still in a healing cast, walking with a slight limp but refusing any help. Behind Park Dae came Shin-Nari, her head held high, her eyes clear and calm. And behind them all, in a wheelchair, pushed by a Kethran nurse, came Yunhana. She had survived. Barely. The radiation had taken much from her. She would never walk again without assistance. She would need medicine for the rest of her life. Her hands trembled now, unable to hold tools the way they once did. But she was alive. And she was smiling. The investigation into the station disaster had taken weeks. Eventually, the truth came out. The explosion had been sabotage, planned by a rogue faction within the Galactic Assembly. They had feared what a human Kethran alliance could mean for the balance of power. They had tried to destroy the peace talks and blame humanity for the deaths. They had failed. The saboteurs had been arrested. Their leaders had been brought to justice. And now, the entire galaxy was watching to see what would happen next. Emperor Torath waited at the end of the square, standing on a raised platform covered in white flowers. He wore robes of pure silver, and a crown of light floated above his ancient head. He looked tired but proud. The destruction of the station had hurt him deeply. But the courage of the humans had given him something unexpected. Hope. Princess Vela stood beside her father. She was dressed in white instead of her usual crystal armor. Her face was calm, but Kang Tae could see the emotion behind her eyes. He had learned to read Kethran faces over the past month. He had learned many things. The humans approached the platform. The crowd fell silent. Emperor Torath raised his hand. People of the Kethran Empire, citizens of the Galactic Assembly, today we gather to honor 4 individuals who have shown us what true courage means. His voice carried across the square, amplified by hidden speakers. Billions of people across the empire were watching through screens and broadcasts. Billions more across the galaxy were listening. When our station burned, when our people screamed for help, when our own soldiers fled in fear, these 4 humans ran toward the fire. They asked for nothing. They expected nothing. They simply saw people in need, and they acted. He gestured, and 4 servants came forward carrying small boxes. Inside each box was a silver star on a white ribbon. The Star of Valor, the highest honor the Kethran Empire could give. In 50,000 years, It had never been given to a non-Kethran, until now. "Captain Kang Tae," the Emperor said, "for leadership and sacrifice beyond measure." Kang Tae stepped forward and bowed his head. The Emperor placed the star around his neck. The metal was warm against his chest. "Park Dae," for strength and endurance that defied all understanding. Park Dae limped forward. His face was stone, but his eyes were bright. The Emperor placed the star around his neck. "Shin-Nari," for compassion and guidance in the darkest hour. Shin-Nari walked forward, her steps light and graceful. Tears ran down her face as the Emperor honored her. "And Yun-Hana," the Emperor's voice softened, "for sacrifice that saved thousands of lives, for giving everything she had and more." Yun-Hana's wheelchair was pushed forward. She tried to stand to show proper respect, but her legs would not support her. The Emperor raised his hand. "Please," he said gently, "do not stand. You have already stood enough for all of us." He placed the star around her neck himself, bending low to reach her. When he straightened, there were tears in his ancient eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for saving my people." Yun-Hana smiled. Her voice was weak, but clear. "Thank you for letting us try." The crowd erupted in applause. It started slowly, hesitantly, then grew until it filled the entire square. Kethrans, who had never clapped for anyone, cheered for the small group of humans standing on the platform. Then Princess Vela stepped forward. The crowd fell silent. Again. Everyone knew what she had said about humans at the summit. Everyone knew her reputation for pride and cruelty. They waited to see what she would do. Vela looked at the humans. Then she turned to face her people. "1 month ago," she began, her voice steady, "I stood before these humans and called them inferior. I called them insects. I said they would be forgotten within 1,000 years. She paused. "I was a fool." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A princess admitting she was wrong. It was unheard of. I measured strength the way our ancestors taught us. In years lived. In battles won. In enemies conquered. By those measures, humans are weak. They live less than a century. Their bodies break easily. Their technology is primitive compared to ours." She turned and looked at Kang Tae, at Park Dae, at Shin-Nari, at Yun-Hana in her wheelchair. "But I have learned that our ancestors were wrong. Strength is not about how long you live. It is about how you live. It is about what you choose to do with the time you have." Her voice grew stronger. These humans chose to run into fire. They chose to save strangers who had mocked them. They chose to give their bodies, their health, their futures for people they had never met. She shook her head. "I have lived 300 years. I have never made a choice like that. I do not know if I ever could." She walked to the edge of the platform and looked out at her people. Humans do not measure strength in years lived or battles won. They measure it in how much they are willing to give for others. They burn so brightly because they know their time is short. Every moment matters. Every choice matters. Every act of kindness echoes forever. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, but everyone heard. That is true power. That is why they will never fade from the galaxy's memory. Long after you and I are dust, the light they created here will still be shining. She turned back to the humans. Slowly, deliberately, she walked toward them. Then she did something no Kethran princess had ever done.